Hello and welcome to your Astro Tarot forecast for the week of May 19th through the 25th. I'm Michelle Shea Walker, and this is your glass half full perspective on the week ahead. If you are a paid Substack subscriber or if you tipped your reader this week, be sure to stick around until the end to see if you won the random drawing for a personalized reading. So I'm going to tell you right away, excuse any extra throat clearings or tea sips that I have. I have seasonal allergies, and yesterday I spent a lot of time teaching some outdoor yoga classes. So I'm definitely feeling that phlegminess. But on an energy healer perspective, that also means that I could be picking up on some throat chakra clearing that we're all having as a collective. We're really finding our voices, finding our creativity, and learning how to express ourselves. So that's the first tidbit that I have for the week ahead. And I am going to preface this week's reading, especially the astrology aspects, by saying I'm not going to cover quite as much as I normally would, because normally I focus on the trines, the sextiles, the squares, the conjuncts, the oppositions within the day. And we have it's like the astrology stack this week. So on the days that we do have some astrology happening, there's multiple things happening. And rather than overwhelm you with a bunch of minor movements that are happening in the planet, I'd rather focus on the more major aspects. So just know that if you are putting your finger on the pulse of like where the planets actually are, you might not hear me cover as much as I normally would in these readings. But as I always say, I'm intuitively guided to what I need to share for you for these. So I may not always cover every aspect of the stars because I want to boil down the message to something that's going to be digestible and usable for you for the week ahead. So with that in mind, we are going to move into our astrology and our cards. And on May 19th, Monday, we don't have any major astrology happening, but we do have a major arcana card. So if you're new around here, major arcana just means that fate has a little hand at play in what's happening that day. And we have the Hermit card reversed. So this tells me that we're getting ready to kind of come out of hiding, that we might have kind of gone into a cocoon to transform into that butterfly energy. And with, I think, especially the oncoming Gemini season that's about to begin this week, we're getting ready to blossom out of that cocoon, show off our new wings, and be seen. And if you're in the northern hemisphere, that makes sense because we are getting into the warmer weather. Here in Chicago, especially, everyone comes out of their winter cave and like wants to see and be seen and socialize and be on patios and be at markets. And that's what Monday's energy is kind of hearkening towards. Like we may not be getting directly out on Monday to really like be a social butterfly, but we are coming out of that cocoon to prepare for our social butterfly stage for the coming season. So I encourage you to wrap up any loose ends that you might have around your home or any ideas that you kind of put on the back burner when you weren't feeling quite as active. Bring those forward and kind of get organized on Monday about what it is that you want, or organize your social calendar. Like Monday might be the day that you're making plans with people, but following through later on in the week. I know not everyone operates that way. I love a good plan ahead socialization. And I know a lot of people do like to kind of fly by the seat of their pants. But if you are sort of a planner, call the friends that you haven't seen for most of the winter. If you, again, are in the northern hemisphere, but if you haven't seen some people in a while, it's a good time to start to set up that social calendar. It's also a good time to kind of look ahead at the months coming up, both with Gemini season and Cancer season. And those are two seasons that we're kind of connecting to either friends, social circles, community, or family. And kind of ask yourself, do I want to plan something? Do I want to plan a girls' trip with my friends? Do I want to, or a boys' trip with my friends? Does it have to be a girls' trip? Metaphorical girls' trip. Do I want to plan to see family? Do a family reunion happen? Does a family reunion happen this summer? Do I want to plan to go to events that are happening throughout the next couple months and kind of get that insight in order so that you're organized? Because I feel like the pacing is going to start picking up soon. And we've spent a lot of time in this hermit mode, kind of like, again, becoming who we're supposed to become and being in the cocoon and restoring our energy, figuring out where we want to go. And I think once the momentum starts to pick up, it's going to go fast. So even if you don't think you're a planner and organizer with your social calendar, you might want to become that, because I feel like there might be some opportunities, some dreams, some invites, some things that come forward quickly. and you don't want to get things mixed up. You don't want to overlap schedules and double book yourself. So just kind of look ahead a little bit and prepare yourself for this coming out of the cocoon. Maybe that means you do some shopping for a new look, or you go get your haircut, or you do something that makes yourself more physically feeling ready to be out in the world and be seen. So as we move from Monday into Tuesday, the big event of the day is the sun moving into Gemini. So Gemini is the social butterfly of the zodiac. It is the energy of not just being able to talk. If you know any Geminis, they definitely can do that, but also to connect to the community around you. So it's a really, I'm getting this, guys, sometimes the messages, the phrases that come through, like just dropped into the head from spirit or what have you during these readings, are just so funny and entertaining. And I don't know that I'm going to get it right, but I'm getting the quote from Clueless where Cher is like, oh yeah, Elton is like the social director of the crew. Like, so you might be becoming the social director of your crew as we go into Gemini season. But it's very much that organized energy. Like, how can you bring people together, whether it be in a social party nature, or even an activism nature, or in a philanthropy nature? Like, how can you gather people around whatever your focus is for the summer or the time being? And it can be different. It doesn't have to all be work and no play. You don't have to all be doing altruistic stuff and then no party and social time. And it doesn't have to be all party social time and no working for your greater community. So that's the energy of Gemini season. And the card that we have coming in that day is the Two of Swords, but it's reversed. So I actually really like this because it means that we've been feeling a little stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that is turning on its head. We're getting unstuck this Gemini season. And I think, like, again, I talk a lot about the Northern Hemisphere is that's where I'm at. I'm not trying to disregard people there in the Southern Hemisphere, but translate it to however you wish. But I know that in the Northern Hemisphere, as we move from sort of spring into summer, and especially for where I am at in Chicago, like winter lasts a pretty long time. We never know when that actual spring summertime is going to land. And sometimes spring doesn't really happen until a couple days before summer. And this is kind of feeling like we've been stuck indoors, we've been stuck to ourselves, and now we're kind of getting unstuck and getting back out in the world. But even if it's not about the weather where you are or in your life, it's about coming into a place of feeling like the momentum can now move forward. So there might have been some projects that you were trying to work on that just weren't gelling. There might have been some relationships and connections you were trying to get together with people that it just wasn't happening. Fate was intervening and like plans kept getting canceled. And those things are going to start to move forward a little bit easier in Gemini season, or at least the things that are meant for you are going to start move forward, and probably surprising ways. So probably things that you thought were like, oh, this just isn't for me. Like, this person doesn't like me, or this job isn't for me, or that opportunity's passed me by, feels like it's going to be maybe coming back around and opening up in a really beautiful and easy way, whereas before it felt forced. So the other thing that's happening on Tuesday before the sun goes into Gemini, which is 1:55 p.m. Central Standard Time in America, in the wee morning hours, 4:28 a.m. Central Standard Time, we have the sun sextile Saturn. So I do feel like there's a feeling of this unstuck energy coming from a place of you learned your lesson, because Saturn is the sort of like school marm, the lesson teacher of the zodiac. And the sun is shining a light on that in like a really soft, easy way with a sextile. And so there's this element of part of the reason that things are moving forward is because it's Gemini season and the momentum's just picking up. But another reason they're moving forward is because you've done the work. You've learned the lessons. So I think that also might be something to keep in mind as we move into this door opening energy, this unstuck energy, is that it's because of the work that you did. So don't get caught up in your head of like, well, why couldn't I have had it 6 months ago? Like, don't get caught up in that storyline. You were a different person 6 months ago, and you have shifted something over the past 6 months that has allowed this energy to be easier and to happen in a way that feels in more alignment. So anytime you're rejected, rejection is protection. So if you were rejected 6 months ago for a relationship, for a job, for something that you thought you needed, and that or something similar is coming back around in a way that feels more open, don't have a chip on your shoulder about that previous rejection, because that wasn't who you are now that got rejected. That was a different version of you, and now you might be more ready for this opportunity. So just keep that in the back of your head, and also pat yourself on the back for learning those lessons. So as we move into Wednesday, again, we get a little quieter astrology on Wednesday. So we get the card, and I love this card for like the first full day into Gemini season. This card does often read very Taurus to me, so that is kind of interesting. But the Queen of Pentacles is a very sort of like abundant harvest energy. It's a very maternal energy. It's like a step sideways from the Empress. I was going to say a step down, but I don't want to downgrade any of the tarot figures. But it's like a step sideways from the Empress, which the Empress is like blossoming and pregnancy and gestation and fruitfulness and creative ideas. And the Queen of Pentacles is that in a way that feels a little more grounded, a little less like pushed ahead by fate, a little more your own free will is directing this. But there is an element of nurturing your surroundings, your community, and your metaphorical garden is the message that I'm getting for this one. So whatever you've been planting seeds and really putting loving care into over the past, I keep getting 6 months as a timeline. So for a lot of us, it might be 6 months, which makes sense because next week we do have a new moon coming around. New moons are when we manifest things in 6-month cycles. So like you're probably coming through this cycle of like recognizing patterns from 6 months ago. This is also telling me that, again, it's the social director of the crew. Like this is what this feels like. It feels like it's the party hostess in like a really grounded, calm, community-based way. Like this isn't like a frat party energy. This is like a really like intimate dinner party with your nearest and dearest, with the absolute best food that the season can provide. It's great energy to like go shop the farmers markets for whatever it is that you're going to use at your party, because Gemini season is really about like local community. So we have other signs and other energies that are about like the broader scope community. This, we're boiling it down to like not just within your home, but like within your neighborhood. And I mean that, again, if it's summer where you are, that makes sense. It's block parties, it's festivals, it's street markets. It's what is happening in your community, whether it be around your home, within your work, even an online community. Like the reaches of your following online could be part of this community. But it also feels really like, let's get back to touching grass and being in the moment and soaking up the sunshine and eating really good food that comes from your local surroundings, and really letting that align you with the energy of your local space, and connecting with local shop owners and shopping small and like supporting those aspects of things, because that becomes really important, not just during Gemini season, but in the grand scheme of things and how we're trying to change the world. So that's the energy of the Queen of Pentacles. She is the nurturer, the supporter, but especially of your friends, your family, and your local community. And how can you really not just like support those things, but like not in a way that feels like, oh, here's my donation, like a way that feels joyful and like a party. So that's what's coming through on Wednesday. And it may be that the actual events are happening on Wednesday, or it could just be that you are kind of broadening your scope, planning things. Again, becoming the social director of your crew is the biggest thing I'm getting here. On the 22nd, we have 3 like of the minor astrologies stacked with one another, and not one of them stood out more than the other. So first up, in 2:41 a.m. Central Standard Time, we have Venus trine Mars. So Venus is our love energy. Mars is our sort of like sex and passion energy. And trines are very lucky and supportive. And I get the feeling, I mean, obviously it's very early in the morning for where I am at and for where most of the US will be at. But it's going to affect the rest of the day as well. And then it might be a good day to have those like sex and love aspects of your life coming through. Like maybe you're reconnecting with your partner, maybe you're going on a date, maybe you're starting a flirtation. It really is a great time of year to just like go out and be seen and flirt and enjoy visual stimulation without it needing to go somewhere. Yeah, it could be the start of a summer fling is what I'm getting for Thursday. We also have the sun sextile Neptune. Neptune is sort of our dreamy aspects of things, and the sun is just always like intensifying energy. Sextiles are less intense than when they line directly up. So just a sweet little kiss of, you can have some daydream. And that's also in the early morning. So there is this feeling of like maybe you go on a date Wednesday night and like the energy extends into Thursday where you're just like, ooh, this could be a summer fling, and you get a little dreamy about it, but like in a way that's like not crazy, but like just feels fun. As we move into the evening hours, we have Mercury sextile the North Node. So communication lines up in a supportive, lucky kiss of a way to our life's purpose and goals and the direction that we're leading. So it's like the beginning of the day, we get to be like very daydreamy and kind of like a little bit of like a crush energy, whether it be a crush on a person or a crush on an idea that you have for your life. And then we move into, again, it's the later evening hours. It's almost into the next morning. And for some of the United States, for the Pacific time, it will be in the next morning, 11:43 Central Standard Time. We have that kiss of like communication and your life's purpose lining up. So it could be that this crush could open up opportunities in regards to your karma and the things that you're trying to move towards this life. That could absolutely be what's happening over the course of this day. Or it could be this is preparing us for having a little break to have a little fun crush and like daydream on Thursday. And then Friday, we get to kind of get back to our purpose. Not that we ignore the crush entirely, but like we don't. The rule of thumb, codependence recovery, we do not let our entire life get on pause because of a crush. So like enjoy it while it's around, but like don't let your whole life get hung up on it. Get back to business on Friday. But before we get to Friday, our card for Thursday is the Eight of Pentacles. So this actually does support the getting back to business energy that I was talking about. So again, it could be that there's almost like a party energy on Wednesday. Maybe you meet someone, you daydream about it Thursday morning, and then you start to feel this energy of like, oh, let me get back to me and what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to get better at in my life. Because the Eight of Pentacles is kind of becoming a master of whatever your trade, your craft, your passion is. So regardless of how far along you are in your career, in your hobbies, and your passion, like let's say that you're a really talented musician, like it still doesn't hurt to continue to improve, to practice your skills, to seek out other inspirations, to continue to write, to continue to seek out other ways of writing. There's so many different things that you can still refine, even when you feel like you've come to a really experienced place. So don't be afraid to either one, do the mundane over and over again, because that's what this card dictates. Like this person has just been drawing pentacles over and over and over to get better and better at it each time. So it could be something like doing scales. If you're a musician, that might not feel like the most interesting work, but it does get everything like accommodating to whatever instrument you're playing. It makes you more textile. It makes you more able to play the actual songs. If you're an artist, it could be drawing the same thing over and over again, or drawing similar things over and over again until you get better. Or on the flip side, depending on where you feel like you are in this particular passion project, it could be seeking out inspiration that's different from what you have before. Because sometimes in order to get better at something, we have to get outside of the little box that we've put ourselves in and seek out outside perspectives and opinions and kind of broaden our mindset on things. Even if we kind of broaden it and like see what the rest of the world has and then come back to our own opinions and ways of doing things, and we realize that actually is the best way for us to do it, it's still nice to know that you made the exploration, that you saw what else is out there, and you really authentically came back to what you believe and what you want to utilize for yourself. So this is Thursday. Again, kind of a mixed bag of energy. We got a little bit of like crush fantasy stuff and a little bit of like get back to work. So balance that out on Thursday. Friday, we have quieter astrology. Our card is a Seven of Wands reversed. So Seven of Wands upright means that we're kind of like fighting for higher ground. We're really coming to a place of visibility and feeling like we kind of have to like fight people off, like fight off the trolls online or fight off the competitors in a job market, fight off the competitors in a dating situation, or just fight off the opinions of others. This is turning things around. So I do feel like this is coming in to say that as we are embracing our local community, kind of zeroing in on the stuff that's closer to us rather than like the whole world needing to know us and see us and like us. We're also refining our practice of whatever it is that we do and getting better at it because we did the work. We come to a place where we no longer feel like we have to fight to have earned the respect that we deserve, because you know that you deserve respect. And anyone that's not willing to give that to you, any of these sticks that are kind of like coming up and trying to like knock you down, aren't even worth your attention, because they're not a part of this space that you're creating for yourself, where you are calling in like-minded people and working for a cause that is similar and really embracing your surroundings and your own ability to do whatever it is that you do in a way that is completely authentic to you and really needed in your current space. So letting go of the need to fight for things. And this is going to feel like a relief. We're going to just be like, don't even care about those opinions online anymore, because I'm so busy working the markets and volunteering in the community and doing all these things. And I now see what matters. And it's not strangers on the internet. And that might not be the exact metaphor that we're working with for you this day, but like that's a great metaphor for what's happening. From Friday, we move into Saturday. And Saturday's astrology was really stacked. So again, I'm not going to cover everything. I'm going to really focus on the thing that jumped out at me. Like this was the big astrology of the week, aside from maybe the sun moving into Gemini. But this in particular is something that doesn't happen every year, like the sun moving into Gemini. So first of all, Mercury is conjunct Uranus. This isn't what I was going to, but I am going to mention Mercury is conjunct Uranus. So Mercury and Uranus are lining up with one another. Uranus is a change maker. Mercury is our communication. So your communication could be shifting and changing in a way that's supported by the cosmos. So take from that what you have, but I feel like that might relate to something that we're going to talk about with this other aspect. So Saturn moves into Aries. And you guys know, if you've been around for a while, I love it when these outer planets start moving, because I've become obsessed with looking up the last time that this particular planet was in that particular sign. Now, unlike the outer planets like Pluto and Neptune that recently changed signs, and I was like, oh, this hasn't been in that sign for centuries, and like we're repeating things from like the 17 and 1800s of those. This one repeats a little bit more often because Saturn's a little bit closer to the sun, but still it is a rather longer timeline. So the last time Saturn was in Aries was 1996 to 1998. So I think most of the people that view my channel are around my age or even younger. And like, that's probably not a super, like self-aware time period in your life. Like it's a younger years, but I think it's a really great opportunity for us to embrace the cravings and the direction of our inner child and reflect upon who we were at whatever age you were at that timeline, 96 to 98, and what you thought you would be as an adult in the future in the world. And how is that different? And it's okay if it's different. You don't necessarily have to going back to wanting exactly what you wanted then. There's a reason that we shift and we change and we grow. But are there aspects of little you that are kind of calling out to come back into play? A great example of this is I've recently been doing sort of a like fitness wellness update in my life, and I've started moving my body more often. I teach yoga, so I do that a lot normally, and I used to use an excuse of like, I'm moving my body so much for work, I don't really need to do it at home. But I've started to challenge myself to move my body every single day. And one of the things that I've been re-embracing is hula hooping. And it's so fun, and my inner child loves it, but it's also great fitness. And there's little things like that that could be coming forward with Saturn moving into Aries, of like, what was it that you wanted and what brought you joy during the 96 to 98 period of your life? Or what would have brought you joy that someone wasn't able to provide you, that you can now provide for yourself? Because a lot of times that's what we're talking about with inner child work, is we're looking at the love, the gifts, the support that we needed as little beings that our caregivers weren't capable of giving us for one reason or another. And we can now give ourselves that. And it could be as simple as spoiling yourselves with some sort of material purchase that age group would have wanted, or it could be a more deeper emotional, inner support, inner love, self-love conversation. And I think it might be a little bit of both. Like, let's balance it out. Let's have some serious inner work going on and maybe a little frivolous gift for yourself that your inner child would have loved, because that just sounds like fun. It sounds in alignment with Gemini season. Our card for the day is the Two of Wands. So the Two of Wands is an indicator that there are a couple different options in your path. And one of them is going to feel more in alignment than the other one. So I do think that you are making a choice between two passions. Could be two relationships, could be two passion projects, two opportunities, two places to live. And I think your inner child, this Saturn and Aries energy, is going to help you make the right choice. And the great thing I always like to say about the Two of Wands is it's not always you choose one and the other one goes away forever. You just choose the one that's the most alignment for you right now, so that you're not struggling. Like we were talking about with the energy earlier in the week getting easier than it might have been 6 months ago. Sometimes when the Two of Wands comes up, the one that we don't grab onto would have been a big struggle to try and make happen. And that's why we're more drawn to the other one. Whereas the other one might come back around as an option 6 months from now, and it'll be easier because of who you are, because of the outside circumstances, whatever. But there is something that you get to choose that hopefully will be partially dictated by your inner child. So moving into Sunday, we have Mercury moving into Gemini. So this is perfect because Mercury is ruled by Gemini. So they're in alignment here with this planet and this sign. Communication is key with Mercury and Gemini, because Mercury is the planet of communication. Gemini is a really great communicator. Again, the social director of the crew that keeps coming forward. Let's go watch Clueless together, guys. And so we're moving into a place where communication can become clearer. We might start to see on the global stage people making announcements, putting their hat in the ring for certain elections or positions. People that have been quiet about things that we wanted them to speak up on might start speaking up. But on an individual level, your communication can become clear as well. It can also become a little excessive sometimes. We can also get a little out of balance with the energy. Gemini does love a good gossip session, so be mindful of that. I always like to use the 3 gates of speech. Is it kind? Is it honest? Is it necessary? Because if you're about to say something and it's kind and honest, but it's not necessary, maybe it doesn't need to be said. That's kind of one of the rarer occasions. But if it's honest and it's necessary, but it's not kind, maybe there's a different way to say it. And what's the other equation that I have? If it's necessary and kind, but it's not honest, then it's a lie and maybe you shouldn't say it. So just kind of field everything through those gates during all of Gemini season, but especially with Mercury and Gemini, just to make sure that your mouth isn't running away from you in a way that could cause damage later. Mercury also sextiles Saturn later in the evening after Mercury enters Gemini at 8:08. Mercury enters Gemini, 8:45. Mercury sextiles Saturn, again, Central Standard Time. And that's telling us that we are kind of incorporating lessons that Saturn's given us over the years to be able to communicate better. So those two are in support of one another. The card for Sunday is the 8 of Cups reversed, which means that there is something that we walked away from that could be coming back around. And we've kind of had a little bit of an energy of this throughout the week, talking about like moving forward from something that felt stuck, choosing something that feels in most alignment for you. And it could be that there's something that you move away from at the beginning and I'm sorry, I have a cat playing with the toy in the background and he's also playing with the rug. Bane, stop. I know. Okay. So if it could be that something you recently, like this past week, walked away from is coming back around as an opportunity. Or I'm also getting for a lot of you, it's that your light's shining so brightly that someone that rejected you in the past might be seeing that and wanting to come back around. And that could be for a relationship. It could be for a business opportunity. It could be an apology from someone that owes you an apology. And the great thing about this is you get to choose if you accept this energy, because sometimes we walked away from things for a reason. And so this doesn't necessarily mean that the thing that's coming back around is meant for you. You get to decide if it's meant for you or not and move forward accordingly. I've got an itchy nose. Oh my gosh, what does that mean energetically? I think it means that, like, yeah, I think someone's thinking about you or talking about you with this card on Sunday. So maybe they're not. I think for most of you, you might get some communication or some inkling that something's coming back around. Bane, stop. Buddy. Hey. Give me just a moment. You're going to watch me throw this toy because I can't take this anymore. Hey, buddy. Come on. Go get it. Okay. He will be back in a minute or seconds because this is a game of fetch. Because my cat likes to play fetch. But hopefully he won't be playing with the carpet this time. Okay, so where was I? Thing coming back around, you don't have to accept it. You may get communication from this person, or because my nose is itching, it may just be that they're like thinking really heavily of you. So what I will say about this energy is especially if it's someone that you walked away from, especially because they were probably toxic, because that's usually what Eight of Cups is, if they're heavy on your mind on Sunday. Sometimes when people are really thinking about us, they're almost manifesting those of us that are more energetically sensitive to contact them so they don't have to do the work and be vulnerable. And I will say, if you are getting that feeling about a toxic situation that you walked away from on Sunday, resist the urge to reach out. If they have changed at all, they will reach out to you. And again, you may still find that they're not for you, but you do not want to be the one to initiate this conversation, because part of the process of them proving that they're worthy of being in your presence again is being the one to reach out first. That was a very serious message for someone. Okay. That is our week. That is our start of Gemini season. It's, a good balance of sort of like socializing and crushes and working on things and choosing your passions and no longer being affected by what people have to say online. I like it. I enjoy it for us. Keep your boundaries in place in a way that feels healthy, and enjoy connecting to the people that do feel supportive and like a community for you. If you're new here, what happens at this point in the reading is I do a random drawing of a name of someone who is either a paid Substack subscriber or who has tipped their reader in the past week. You can do either one of those things below if you want to be entered in a next week reading. But I also like to preface these readings by saying, even though they are personal for a specific individual that I'm pulling for, they are also usually a bit of collective energy, because that individual is involved in the collective's energy. So you might find that there's a message that I say to this person that resonates. So if you're good at trusting your intuition and picking what's for you and leaving what's not for you, feel free to stick around for this reading, and there might be a little glimpse of wisdom or a little phrase that you needed to hear for the week ahead. Or maybe you're dealing with something exactly like the energy that comes up in the cards with this person. Like, we have mirror experiences with other people in the world. That's why we don't exist in a vacuum. So with that in mind, my random name generator for this week chose, oh God, I don't think it's focusing, Caitlin. And again, I am pulling from smaller pools because the Substack subscriber list and the tip the reader list is smaller as this channel grows momentum. So it's a good time to go ahead and do one of those things, because you'll be pulled from a very small pool of people. And that's why these people that I keep pulling are getting repeat readings. I do remove a name if they've done the last week. Like if you win one week, you do get removed the next week. But this is going to be, unless you do a one-time tip. If you one-time tip me every single week, I will put you in for every single week's reading. But just know that if my subscribers aren't going to just get like 4 back-to-back readings for one person, it's not how we work things. They'll get maybe 1 a month. But Caitlin is up next, and I think she got a reading like maybe 3 weeks ago. So we'll see what's going on for her. I'm feeling called to use the same deck. So we are going to be void of our weekly cards, which is meant to be if that's the way that it's been called to be done. And I did not ask for any sort of questions. What I like to do most of the time for these readings, unless I have an inkling of what this person wants the reading to be about, just going in blind, general reading. So what does Caitlin need to know specifically? Oh my gosh, my nose is still itching. Caitlin, you might have someone coming back around for that Sunday. You might have someone thinking about you that wants to come back around, that you get to choose whether you let them back into your life. And it could be like a toxic friend, family member, just something that you cut ties from that didn't serve you. But beyond that, we have a past, present, future for Caitlin. And if it wants to resonate with anyone else watching, them as well. Oh my gosh, my nose is still itching. It won't stop. Although I did mention allergies, but this doesn't feel like the allergies. It almost feels more like it's cat hair if it's anything. But we don't have any jumpers. Is there not? I mean, that's sometimes a good sign. Oh, we got one. We got a jumper now. So we got a past card. Oh, that one wants to come out. Present card and future. Ooh, that one flipped over. Okay. All right. So for Caitlin, we have a past card of the 8 of Wands, but it's reversed. So the 8 of Wands is an indicator that there are intuitive messages coming in for you. Communication in general. So it could be people trying to reach out to you, but especially your spirit posse and whatever your intuition is trying to tell you has been in the recent past was trying to get through to you, and it was being blocked. I mean, it was being blocked by just like life and busyness. So if this was outside forces trying to reach in and contact, you might double check your email that you didn't miss any messages, or double check the mailbox. Like, I don't get a feeling that it's something that you really need to like stress out about and be like, oh my gosh, I missed something. But like, just do another pass of those areas, because it does feel like maybe there was a message that like slipped through the cracks that you didn't respond to, something along those lines that could be coming back around. But more importantly, I think the spiritual side of things, if you haven't been making time in the recent past for meditation, allowing for that stillness is how we let these messages come forward. So meditation can look like a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily have to look like sitting cross-legged, listening to chanting music. It can be as simple as like the shower principle, where we talk about how we get really great ideas in the shower because we're not thinking about other things. We're not doing other things. Our mind can kind of wander. Give yourself the space for those activities where your mind can wander rather than being constantly engaged. Because I think that's what's going to really unlock this door to flip this card over and let these intuitive messages come through a little clearer. So that was the recent past, though. So you might have already fixed that or been on your way to fix that. In the present, we have the Knight of Cups. So this is an offering of love or creative inspiration. So this does feel like, I feel like this has something to do with like the warmer weather and summer coming forward, of like, there's some sort of like inspiration to play, to create, to get in touch with that inner child that's offered to you. It could have something to do with also playing with children, but I also feel like there's something here that you should keep something for yourself as well. But it does feel like it does have something maybe to do with the outdoors. So again, I want to actually echo back to that whole storyline that we have this week of Saturn going into Aries since the first time since 1996, 98. And I want you to look at that part of your life. And in particular, when the weather was nice and warm, what did you like to do? What made you feel alive and joyful at that time period in that type of weather and environment? It could be horseback riding. I know that's what's coming forward for me as I said that from my bank of memories, and there is a horse on this card. So if that resonates for you, take it. If not, I could be thinking of horseback riding because that's my body's, my intuition's way of being like, look at what you liked when it was summer and it was warm and you were little, because that is something that I did during the summers when I was a child, was get horseback riding lessons. So yeah, check into that, because that's calling out to you this month. And it's going to unlock not only a little bit of that creativity and playfulness, but also the cups are related to that intuition. So it might be part of what like flips this card on its head, doing something that you really enjoyed outdoors from your childhood. I'm getting there might be some sort of element of like running outdoors. I'm getting that as like a visual here. So if you 96 to 98 were like involved in running, track, maybe just running around a playground, like that could be part of this. But that's coming forward for some reason. So I'd love to know if that resonates. In the future, we have the 10 of Pentacles, which is great for Gemini season because it is about this like really well-built community and family that you've established. So I think that this is just echoing that Gemini energy of like, not only are you reconnecting to your home and coming up out of that cocoon energy, but you're also kind of going back out in your local community and reconnecting there, maybe doing some volunteering. Maybe what you're doing has to do with this inner child stuff that you're tapping back into. Like maybe there's something you used to do that you find out that you can volunteer someplace that like has something to do with that topic, that subject, that activity. Or maybe you start something. Maybe if it is running, you start a running club in your neighborhood. Like that's the metaphor that's coming forward. But I feel like these are all going to trickle into each other. Like we have the intuition that was blocked. You're going to do some activities that allow those intuitive messages to come through. Getting the allergy choke up in my throat. So they're, again, communication is blocked and trying to come through. And then, or also, you're going to tap into that inner child stuff that may also help those messages come through even clearer. And then that's going to somehow snowball into connecting to community in a better, stronger way. And it could be as simple as when you're happy and content and making time for yourself, you can better show up for your community. But it could be something that's more like literal, like I said, like volunteering for an activity that's similar to that, or getting like a side job that's similar to that. Yeah. Underneath the deck, you can't make this stuff up. It's the 6 of Cups, which is a sense of nostalgia, and it's reversed. So like nostalgic activities are coming back around. So again, I reiterate once more, Saturn moving into Aries, reflecting back on 1996 to 1998. Let's see, specifically, if we want to get real specific, April 1996 to October 1998. What were you doing? What were you enjoying? What lit up your inner child? And maybe even helped you feel like you were more in touch with sort of like intuitive messages, even though we may not call that as children. We are very in touch with the spirit world as children. So what kind of lit up your imagination as a child, and how can you find a way to integrate that back into your life? I hope that this reading served you well, Caitlin, and anyone else who decided to watch. And again, if you want to be entered for the personalized reading next week, you can become a paid subscriber below this video in the link, or you can tip your reader at the links below as well. And you have to tip no more than, you can tip at least $1 and you'll get entered in. So it doesn't have to be anything crazy. And if you subscribe on Substack, it's only $5 a month. And $5 a month gets you all weekly entries for that month. Thank you for watching. Go enjoy your social butterfly Gemini. Butterfly Gemini.